Welcome to the Hope for the Animals podcast, sponsored by Compassionate Living. I'm your host, Hope Bohannic, and you can find all our past episodes by going to our website, hopefortheanimalspodcast.org, and you can also find us on Facebook and Instagram. Today on the podcast, we have a very special guest, Naijha Wright-Brown, who is the Executive Director of Black Veg Society. It was really lovely to talk to her about her work in Baltimore, Maryland, and we'll get to that in just a minute or so. But I first wanted to share with you some insights and thoughts that I've been having lately around grocery stores and vegan food. Now, I don't talk about food a lot on this, and actually hardly at all on this podcast. For me, the food part is kind of secondary to the more immediate and critical concern of speciesism and helping people to understand animals, farmed animals, to know them and value their lives. But I do believe that introducing people to vegan food and talking and teaching about vegan food is very important. It's just not where I focus my energies. But with that said, we are going to explore a bit of food activism today with our guest. And I have had a really interesting transition now that I've moved to Eugene, Oregon from Northern California. So I mentioned this on the last episode that my husband Kojin and I have moved to Eugene, Oregon. And actually, one of the things that we love about Eugene is Sundance Natural Foods. It's a sweet little natural food store that we love, that has been here for years. It's been around since the 70s, and we've been coming up and visiting. When we visit Eugene, we will always go to Sundance. And so we've been visiting Sundance since the 90s. And we wanted to be close. We wanted to be close to Sundance. We're now just 8 minutes away from Sundance, so it can be our primary grocery store. And we just love it because it is primarily vegan. And even though that may seem to perhaps be an odd thing to include on the top list of reasons to move to an area, Sundance was on our list of reasons that we wanted to move here to Eugene because they are mostly vegan. They do have a small animal dairy section, but it's over kind of in the corner. And they do sell dog and cat food with meat, I think. And I think there might be cans of tuna, but there's no meat counter. And I believe that everything in their grocery and bulk is vegan. And most especially the deli, the hot and cold bar, the grab and go sandwiches and salads, and the bakery is all vegan, or at least everything that they make in-house is vegan. This is such a haven and such a blessing. I'm getting really more sensitive as I get older to the suffering of animals around me. And of course, animal products represent that suffering. And when I was in Sacramento for the last 4 years, they have a co-op, the Sacramento Co-op, and they had all the vegan stuff I needed, but there was this huge, gross meat counter and then an actual whole separate seafood counter. And I'd have to avoid that entire side of the store. And their hot bar, like prepared foods, that you put in containers for lunch or whatever, they had a fair amount of vegan food, but it would be right next to something with meat or something with cheese, or sometimes they'd have like kale, like a kale salad, but then they'd put bacon in it or something. So you had to be really, really careful. And it was frustrating and gross. And I know I was incredibly privileged to have even that. I mean, this is like very, very privileged problems. I get that. I mean, some places, probably most places, don't even have as much as the co-op had. And it's also just a privilege to be able to afford to shop at a natural food store as well. I really want to acknowledge that. Many natural groceries and co-ops that started in the 70s through the 90s were vegetarian. But then in the 2000s, so many started carrying, like at first, grass-fed beef or some kind of organic meat, buying into the humane hoax. And once that floodgate was open, they now just have full-on meat counters and meat throughout the store. But there are holdouts. There's these handful of stores that have stuck to their ethical vegetarian values, and Sundance is one of those. And I'm so, so grateful. My whole shopping experience has transformed. And I feel safe and comfortable going in there, being able to get something from the deli or choosing from their many, many fresh baked cookies and cakes and not even have to read the ingredients. I know it's all vegan. I used to hate grocery shopping, and I don't think I really had put my finger on why, but now I think I know. It was this constant reminder of the suffering of animals, the blatant disregard to animal suffering that is in all meat, dairy, and eggs. And I would have to see it and think about it and avoid it when I was trying to buy my own food. I didn't realize how dramatically that would change shopping in a safe space like Sundance. Like I knew, I was excited. I knew that I wanted to be near Sundance because it was vegan, but I really didn't realize just what a joyful experience it is now shopping there, knowing that everything, or at least most everything, is vegan. And it's made me realize that while we have come so far in so many areas with much more vegan food available, vegan products, options, more options at restaurants, more vegan restaurants, we've not had as much advancement as far as grocery stores go, like vegan and vegetarian grocery stores. Even though there's more vegan food in all grocery stores and in mainstream grocery stores, there's just not as many all vegetarian or vegan groceries. And I wonder what your experience is with grocery shopping. Maybe there are vegan and vegetarian grocery stores out there that I'm not aware of. Maybe there's more than I think. I'd love to hear about them. I know that there are also vegan grocery stores online. Maybe that's a good way to do it if you don't have options in your area or if you don't want to have to avoid the disgusting meat counter. But I feel so blessed and kind of relieved to have Sundance just down the street, this safe, kind of vegan safe space to shop. And I realize now how important that is. And I want to see more vegan grocery stores everywhere. We need to support that movement. So share with me your shopping experiences as a vegan. I'd love to know. And our guest today knows a lot about vegan food, being connected to a fabulous vegan soul food restaurant in Baltimore. So let's hear from Naijha. So today on the podcast, we are honored to welcome Naijha Wright-Brown. She is the marketing director for the restaurant The Land of Kush in Baltimore, Maryland, the co-creator of the Vegan Soul Fest and Maryland Vegan Restaurant Month. She is the executive director of the Black Veg Society, a 501c3 nonprofit that educates predominantly Black, Indigenous, and people of color communities on the benefits of holistic living, plant-based diet, and veganism. She also has a talk show on YouTube, Naijha Speaks, that helps people on a mission to find their vegan soul. Welcome to the podcast, Naijha.
Thanks for having me, Hope. I am so excited.
I'm excited to have you. So I would love to kind of get to know you. And one of the questions we like to start with is why and when you went vegan. So tell us your vegan origin story.
Yes, I was just relocating to Maryland in 2005. I used to work for Verizon Wireless in New Jersey, and they were closing down that call center. And I landed in Maryland, and of course, when you're moving states, you have to find a new doctor, a new dentist, and new this, new that. So in search of a new doctor, I found this doctor, got a physical. I thought I was in the best health ever until the doctor said, well, your cholesterol is so high that if you don't do anything about it, I think it was like over 249, like something like that. If you don't do something about it, you're going to be placed on meds, to reduce it or whatever. And
Oh,
since
wow.
I live a holistic lifestyle, meaning that I don't want drugs in my body, because the body
Yeah.
can heal itself through, herbs, natural remedies. And, I have to be dying, or in excruciating pain to use
Yeah.
drugs. I don't use drugs.
Mm.
I'm holistic. So I had to find a way to reduce the cholesterol. Now, I didn't know anything about, vegan, vegetarian, like things like that. I wasn't into, what was going on with that, but I was familiar with tofu because I used to eat bean curd. That's what I know. That's
Mm.
bean curd and
Uh-huh.
black bean sauce when I used to work in New York in my early 20-year age. Dr. Google helped me. I was
Uh-huh.
finding about garlic pills and things like that, all this type of stuff. And then a year later at Verizon Wireless, I got promoted to being a supervisor. I was on this management team, and this gentleman was on the same team. His name happened to be Gregory Brown. And Gregory Brown was a very interesting, quiet, kept himself type of person. He had locks, and he would bring these exotic dishes to lunch. He always brought his lunch, and the lunch had, these chunks of tofu, different sauces, things like that. And he was vegan.
Mm.
So there you have it. I'm like, okay, well, what's going on? This is what's
Yeah.
happening with me, and I'm trying to figure out all this stuff. And finding out that vegan food doesn't have cholesterol. And then as we grew closer, because again we were on the same team, he would talk to me about foods like shrimp being scavenger, things like that, things that cause damage to the body when we consume it. And then he talked to me about the dream that he had of opening this vegan restaurant. And, it just so happened, I used to be a nightclub promoter. I was always doing something while I was in New Jersey and in New York. So I was looking for something to do in Maryland. And when he talked about this dream of opening a restaurant, I was like, I don't know anything about food service, never worked in food service. But I think if you're passionate enough about pushing a message, it would be a success. And I was very passionate about pushing this message, and he was very passionate about opening this restaurant. And 12 years later, we are multi-award winning restaurant, The Land of Kush, serving Stevie Wonder and Angela Davis, Danny
Wow.
Glover, the actor,
Yeah.
multiple recording artists, surviving the pandemic. It's a major blessing.
Mm.
And all because of this connection made at Verizon Wireless, because I was on a journey of reducing my cholesterol.
Wow. Wow. What an incredible story. I love that Gregory was there to guide you. That's really, really cool. I love hearing stories like that because as vegans, we often don't know if we're making any kind of difference. We don't know, if we're influencing anybody, but just by him bringing vegan food to the office, right? Look at the connection he made. Look who he changed and how much you've done. It's really beautiful to hear those stories. I love that.
Yes, he wanted everyone to test his food. So I definitely was a
Nice.
major taste tester. I'm like, this guy can cook too. So I was already thinking like, oh, he cooks it all. This is gonna be fantabulous for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Wonderful. So you opened this restaurant, The Land of Kush, and it was in Baltimore. Yeah.
Yes, because Greg is a Baltimorean.
Okay.
Both his parents are from Baltimore. I am a native New Yorker, and anybody that runs into me knows that, because it comes straight out of my mouth. They already know, oh, you sound like you're from New York. He is a Baltimorean, and he is passionate about his city, and he was passionate about this idea of bringing a healthier soul food concept to the community of Baltimore, and that's why we're here.
Nice.
So yeah.
Nice. I love it. I love it. And just so the land of Kush, it's a I think indigenous Egyptian people, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Tell us a little about that.
yes, Greg studies the African diaspora, and he wanted a name for the restaurant that would encourage conversation. People don't realize when they think of Black people that we were always slaves. We were not.
Yeah.
Black people, indigenous Blacks, Africans were very powerful. They were rulers, and the Kingdom Kush is one of the perfect examples. So he couldn't have picked a better name, the land of Kush. It's so interesting that in 2020, there's an article in Smithsonian Magazine written by Ishmael Kush called The Lost Kingdom of Kush. So if you really want to know about the land of Kush, you need to pick up that past copy, order it, get it from somewhere. September 20th, Smithsonian Magazine, The
Mm,
Lost Kingdom of Kush. You will find out everything you need to know about Kush. Kush
mm.
is also referenced in the Bible. We're talking about Ethiopia along the Nile River. So this opens up the dialogue for us to tell our people that you were not always slaves. Don't let them teach you that in school, because that is not the truth. We were rulers. We were powerful people. We're still powerful people. And our people need to know that.
Yeah, so definitely we'll put some links possibly in the show notes to more information about that. That's great. So you now, and you do much more than this restaurant. I know that you have festivals that you organize, and you are the executive director of the Black Veg Society. Tell us what the Black Veg Society is all about. What do you do?
Well, when we were opening the restaurant, anyone knows that restaurant business, the first year is, intense, because you're either gonna make it or you're gonna break it. So our
Mm,
focus was on the restaurant for the first first 3 years. We had a loyal, and still have a loyal, customer base. So of course, customers come in, they want you to do this, they want you to do that. We had one particular customer during the first 2 years that had this Facebook group called Black Vegetarian Society of Maryland. And because we were doing so well so quickly with the restaurant, he wanted us to take this group and administer it and moderate it. We were really busy in the first few years of Land of Kush. We had no time to do anything. We barely, had our own Facebook page going. Little things we were doing, posting pictures of food and things like that. We just didn't have the capacity to take over another group. But in 2014, something really interesting happened. A beautiful spirit named Brenda Sanders was also in the community of Baltimore doing outreach work, and she was looking for people to connect with. And she was trying to put on this conference. So she comes to the Land of Kush. I mean, we used to throw these happy hours at the Land of Kush, so people could meet and get together. We are a social enterprise. We're not just a restaurant.
mm.
So at some point, Brenda and I had met, and she wanted to do this conference in October or whatever. And then we just got into this conversation about Veg Fest and Veg Fest not really representing our culture and the Black vegans and things like that. We needed to bring something to the community that was representative of us, representative of what we like, and our culture, our people. And so whatever that conference was she was talking about that she wanted Land of Kush to cater, it became a vegan soul fest, after we got over, meeting.
Right.
So in
Vegan Soul Fest. Yeah.
Vegan Soul Fest. So in
Yeah.
3.5 months, we would put this festival on. And that's when I had decided, and that was in 2014, to take this Black Vegetarian Society of Maryland. And that's when I adopted it, and it became a nonprofit. And I have to shout out A Well-Fed World as being like the initial supporter of Black Vegetarian Society of Maryland at that time. And then right behind them was Veg Fund. So they were very instrumental in helping us get off the ground with this. So it was just a perfect time to take this over. Now it's doing business as Black Veg Society, because although we're based in Baltimore, Maryland, I have expanded to supporting people in San Antonio, Texas, and Seattle, Washington, and Denver, Colorado, and in New York, of course, because that's where I'm from. And I've also connected with people in Africa. So we just don't want to limit our reach to Maryland.
Yeah.
After the pandemic, the reach is global.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now it's Black Veg Society, keeping it real simple and real short. Black Veg Society.
Nice. Yeah, it's amazing how the pandemic it forced our activism online, but because of that, we have so much more of a global reach. I've experienced that as well.
Yes, so we had to
Yeah.
shift from, because we were doing a lot of so back to Black Vegetarian Society of Maryland, now Black Veg Society. We were doing a ton of outreach in the community. We were doing table sampling, so giving people the opportunity to try vegan food, corporate brands that you can find in local supermarkets, be it plant-based milks, be it plant-based meat, plant-based snacks. We would table in all communities and have people sample so they can get an idea that this food, vegan food, is not rabbit food or nasty food. So much so that in 2019 Veg Fund awarded the Black Vegetarian Society an award. They recognized us because we had done like 24 events in a matter of 2 years or something like that. And this was at that time it was the National Animal Rights Conference. So this was in 2019. So we had been working that hard with all the outreach. We're doing dinners and tablings, festivals. And then during the pandemic, because we couldn't do any outreach outdoors, we went online and we started a food as medicine webinar series. So, if you go to our website, bvsmd.org or blackvegsociety.org, you find that information. So we just put out a ton of food as medicine webinars. We're just a society that wants to meet people where they are. So it's not a membership society at this time. It's a collective of individuals that's helping people meeting them where they are on their vegan, plant-based, and holistic journey. People were so receptive of the information when you're not judging them, because I know I wasn't vegan all my life, so I have no business judging anybody.
Such good work. It's wonderful. Really fantastic. So tell us more about Vegan Soul Fest. I mean, I'm sure it had to kind of shift and shut down probably during the pandemic. Are you able to bring it back now? Where is it? Is it going to be happening this year? Tell us about Vegan Soul Fest.
Yeah, so Vegan Soul Fest, this first year in 2014, we were organizing this fest as a little shindig thing at a building of a friend of mine that owned it. So it was 2 levels. We thought we were just going to have 30 vendors, and we were just going to have speakers and that sort of thing. Let me tell you something. When we put that advertisement out about Vegan Soul Fest, it overwhelmed us because it was more than 30 vendors that signed up. We had 90 vendors that signed up, and we had to get a permit to allow vendors to set up outside the building around the entire block.
Wow.
I put a DJ on the corner. We had music. 1,500 people showed up at the first inaugural vegan. So much so that the news came down. They didn't even know what the hell. Nobody knew what was going on. They just saw all these people, and the news came down, and the Baltimore Sun titled this article "New Food Festival." So that was it. So if we didn't want to have any more Vegan Soul Fest, it was too late, because they already said this is a new festival and you guys got to do it again. So we couldn't do it there anymore, obviously, because we outgrew the place. This was the Downtown Cultural Arts Center. We couldn't do it there. So we connected with a college, Baltimore City Community College, and we would have a 3-year contract with them to do this festival on their campus, indoors and outdoors. And we blew that one out. The numbers just kept growing every year. We reached 10,000 people at the final year. We stayed at Baltimore City Community College, which was in 2017, and then from there we had to take it to the local parks. And then in 2018 was the first time of us securing a headliner, Maya, who's vegan. And at that point, we were at 16,000 attendees. Again, this was a free fest, if I had mentioned. Initially, it was a free fest all these years. So the numbers just kept growing and growing. And then the pandemic hit as we were planning for 2019, where we were going to take it to another park, a different park in the city. We was trying to hit different areas in the city. So, because Baltimore is interesting. Some people don't go to the east side, west side, south side. It's just really interesting. So we was trying to tour the city with this festival.
Wow.
So we were going to have it at Carroll Park, but in 2020, or when we was coming back, we was going to have it at Carroll Park, which is in southeast Baltimore. But then the vision became that people like to come out for the music You know, it started with the first one. Our folks love music, and I'm half Latin too. So we like our Latin music, and, you know, African Americans, Black people, we like music. The music has to be there. I remember hearing somebody attending the festival one time, oh, the music is too loud. Well, then you can't be here because this is how we do this. The people love the music. If you don't like the music, then you can't come because you're not going to be comfortable. So, so now in 2020, what is it? What was last year? 2022, we came back as a vegan music festival.
Wow.
And unbeknownst to us, the budgets of everything, like after coming back after 2 years of the pandemic and being on hiatus, everything was just so expensive, and then everybody want to get paid, and so it was so crazy. And, you know, us trying to raise money, it had to become this festival that you had to pay to get in, but we had to do what we had to do to survive. And so the numbers that went down to probably about a little less than 2,000 attendees, but the experience was incredible for those that attended, because we had VIP experience, we had industry eyes on us, because now you're talking about music industry folks that are looking in like this is who had never been to a vegan festival, didn't even know something like this existed, and then they see someone like a Gray, you know, rapping hip hop and plant-based dripping. They're like, what is this going on? So it just got more eyes and attention on it. So we partnered with another organization on the Vegan Soul Fest last year, collectively, who was organizing their inaugural festival, We Give Black, because again, people are coming out of this pandemic and everybody's trying to raise funds to do what they have to do in their organization. And this organization collectively gives back to Black-led organizations. So it couldn't have been a better partnership. So this was the very first time Vegan Soul Fest was collaborating with another organization. So it became Vegan Soul Fest, We Give Black Fest. And we were able to raise $235,000, you know, because of this whole campaign that was given back to Black-led organizations. So this year, we're coming back again, the same location in Southeast Baltimore, West Covington Park, which is now being called Baltimore Peninsula, August 19th to the 20th. We've been selling tickets since late October, and we're already at 3,000 tickets sold, with an estimated 10,000 tickets by August.
Wow.
So very serious business right here. We are moving into a whole different space with vegan music festival organizing.
Wow. I love it. I love that, because it's taking it mainstream, taking it to a larger level audience, probably, that may not have come because, you know, they're not necessarily vegan, but into the music.
Exactly. Right? And all vegan options, all vegan retail, you know, it's a vegan person's dream, even a plant-based person, like to walk into a festival and now everything is catered to you in terms of food, beverage, retail. I hate going to festivals, you know, because I love, you know, going to music festivals, but I hate when there aren't enough vegan options. I remember when Land of Kush came out and we were vending at the African American festival, you know, used to be called AFRAM. We were the only vegan option there, and we sold out 3 days in a row. The only one. You know what I'm saying? So can you imagine being a vegan, you know, Black vegan? This is the demographic. You're going there, and this is all you got. It's just one option. So we're trying to create the space where you have all of these options and you can still enjoy the music, and you'll still have the opportunity to listen to speakers like Tracy McQuirter and Dr. Mills. We had Badass Vegan last year there. We had Monique Koch, the Brown Vegan. You know what I'm saying? So you'll still have your educational, because you're going to have all of those components and your cooking demos and things like that.
Wow, that sounds like a lot of work.
And a lot of work and a lot of money. That's why we need help.
But sounds so amazing, like a fantastic event. I mean, that sounds like a destination, like it'd be worth flying there to go.
I'm so happy you
even
said
if you're
that.
not in Baltimore, you know.
I'm so happy you said that, because Maryland is such an incredible state. there's a lot of stuff going on. And I need to shout out Visit Maryland, because they were one of the biggest sponsors
Wow.
last year,
Nice.
because they saw the opportunity for tourism and bringing people from outside to the city of Baltimore because of this unique concept of a festival. If I'm going to shout out anything, anyone is going to be Visit Baltimore, is going to be a Well-Fed World, a Better Food Foundation, and collectively, because they really supported Vegan Soul Fest heavily when it came to the finances to put this event on. Without them, I don't know where we would be. So we're hoping that, we get the same level, if not more, support at this year's festival. So, and I can't wait, especially looking at the ticket sales. Tickets are selling in droves every day.
Wow. Well, I'd love to switch directions and ask you something about, I keep hearing that Black people are the fastest growing demographic of vegans. And, I hear this every now and again. And I wondered if that is true, if we know that's true, and what you might attribute that to if it is.
It's growing because people want to improve their health, but we've always been here. If you think of the Seventh-day Adventists, the Black Hebrew Israelites, think of Indians and Ethiopian culture, we've eaten this way, the whole food, plant-based way. So it's really not new. We Rastafarians, living the ITAL lifestyle. So this is really not new. And I love the way that Tracy McWhirter put the African American Vegan Starter Guide together, because it talks about that. Like, does anybody remember Dick Gregory? We're talking about, he was around before I was even born, I guess, right? So
Yeah, and
this is not a new
he was
thing.
speaking out specifically about veganism back in
And
like the
animal
70s.
rights.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, and animal rights. So
Yes.
health, definitely. The majority of African Americans are turning to vegan lifestyle, plant-based eating because of health. I mean, I just told you, I'm a perfect example of that. We want to eat better. Now, we teach at the Black Veg Society that, all vegan food isn't the healthiest. Vegan is vegan. So we explain the difference between veganism and vegetarianism and plant-based lifestyle and all of that, so that's why it's Black Veg, because we're going to teach all of the ideologies and where do you want to be in that. You going vegan all the way? Some people's like, well, I just want to wear my whatever. We can teach them all about that. So those are but the majority of Black people are going vegan because of health concerns. And then when they're learning, just like I learned, okay, well, what's happening, with the food and the animals. And, I was a big seafood eater. And then now you learn why you don't want to be a pescatarian anymore, after watching something like a Seaspiracy or hearing about the mercury levels in fish. Now you're slowly educating yourself on everything else. And the Well-Fed World opened my eyes when they talked about global hunger, which affects Black and brown people. So taking food out of the mouths of people that really need it so we can feed animals. So finding your way in your journey is very important through this education of this lifestyle. And I'm so happy that we're here to outreach the community to explain that to them. We are the highest demographic in health disparities.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Obesity, stroke, diabetes. Yeah. So it would definitely be us. We're still minimal. I mean, the Black population is higher than the overall population. Yeah, I did a talk at the inaugural animal and vegan and animal advocacy summit in October, and that's the first thing I said. We're still below 10%. So there's still a lot of work to do, no matter how, and that's combining vegetarianism in there. So we're still small percentage. Just Blacks are leading the way, but it's still under 10%. So there's still a lot of work to do. So when I hear about infighting and I hear about racism in the vegan community, it needs to stop because there's just so much work to do. I don't know how people have all of this time to be focusing on that when we have 90+% to be focusing on that we need to be educating on the lifestyle.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a really important point that you touched on, racism in the movement. And I wonder if you want to talk about that a little bit, or if there's anything. I constantly want to consider, what can we do better? What can we change? What can we be doing better as a movement, to be more inclusive, to be more diverse? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, people, you got to be open-minded. You got to understand culture. That's the first thing. If you don't understand culture, then that's the initial problem. Everyone is not going to do things the same way. You have a culture. I have a culture. The Latin community has a culture. The Indian community has a culture. Everybody's not going vegan the same exact way. No one has the one right answer to go vegan.
Yeah.
And food is social. So some people will look at you like you're crazy in their culture. And what's going to happen to all my friends? I ain't going to have no friends. As a matter of fact, I was talking to someone this weekend about that. The first thing they were concerned about is, I'm not going to have any friends because all of my friends do this. So she's asking me, how does she navigate through that? And of course, I brought up Tracy's book, The African American Vegan Starter Guide. And then I gave her some words of wisdom. If anybody is teasing you or shunning you or keep shutting you out because you're trying to better your life, whether it's you're trying to exercise, eat better, then these are folks that don't really need to be around you, and you don't need to be around them. And you need to tell them that. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No one should be shutting out people because they want to change their lifestyle and eat better and have a different philosophy or religion. No one religion is the right religion, people. That's why I'm an omnist. I find truth in all religions. Your religion is not the one. Sorry. So we have to be a little bit more open to hearing other cultures, listening to other cultures, and stop thinking, we're the right ones. That's that whole colonial imperialistic mindset, and we need to get rid of it. Love is the answer.
Yeah, I love that. That's absolutely right. And messages and messaging needs to be different and geared towards different communities, and written by and delivered by those communities. So
exactly, Hope.
Yeah.
I love your name, Hope. We have hope to get to the people we need to get to if we try to be more loving and more understanding of other cultures and stop judging. Nobody can judge me but my God.
Yeah, tell me more about the religion you said that you were with, where you take from all religions, truth from all religions. What is that called again?
It's called being an omnist. You can find truth. I can read all different type of doctrines, the Bible, the Bhagavad Gita, the Torah, the Quran. You can find truth in all of that.
That's right.
It is your journey. It's your spiritual journey to connect with your God. And my God has no gender. Okay? My God is created in the image of me. It's a spiritual being inside of me. We're all gods and goddesses. There's a higher power, the universe. And that's what I connect with. And that's what I believe. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's what I believe. So I can take text and read it and understand it and apply it to my lifestyle. It's love. Like, people say, what would Jesus do? Exactly. What would Jesus do? You're talking all of this. What would Jesus do?
Yeah.
What would the Buddha do? So that's how I see it.
Yeah. Yeah. And love runs through all those texts that you talked about, all the different religions. And there's other stuff. There's, we are human and humans are problematic, but love is really the overwhelming and through line with all religions. And I love that you take from all the religions that love.
I listen to Ralph Smart a lot. You know, when we were locked in because of the pandemic, Ralph Smart is a vegan, and you can find him on YouTube. He has his program is called Infinite Waters. So just thinking about that, Infinite Waters, diving deep. He really got me through the pandemic with his teachings. And the one thing that resonated in my mind is when he said, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. We're in these bodies, but we are spiritual beings. And it is our birthright to be free and, you know, and practice love.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. Well, you mentioned a little bit about this before, but I kind of want to maybe bring it up again and unpack it a little more. Indigenous diets around the world were mostly plant-based, still are in a lot of places, mostly plant-based. And that is true for Black cultures as well. And there is so much amazing vegan centered or plant-based soul food and the food from Black culture. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, when I was and I definitely learned this from my husband because he plays around with a lot of different grains and vegetables. You know, he cooks when he cooks for us, he cooks whole food plant-based. We have a lot more options. When you look at it, when you look at meat versus all of the fruits, vegetables, grains, nuts, seeds, beans, legumes, we are beating the majority of people that are eating meat because that's all they got. Those are your options. But when you think internationally, there's international versions of all types of fruits, vegetables, nuts, grains, seeds, beans, and legumes.
Yeah.
We have them. It's just people need to take the time to learn these different options and then cook them. That's the thing. The society is so stressed with taking time out to cook. Cooking can take a long time or it can take a little bit of time. It depends on how you prep. So that's the thing. We're moving so fast in this society that people want everything fast. It has to be quick. My meal has to be done in 5 minutes. Quick, quick, quick. So I'm doing frozen, this and that. You know, so
Yeah.
we have to get back to the table and to the garden and growing stuff and, you know, eating that way. But yeah, Ethiopian food. I love Ethiopian food. I love the injera
Yeah.
bread, which has a lot of, you know, iron and protein. I'll
Yeah.
get
The
a
teff,
Ethiop.
right?
Yes, the teff.
Teff
Yes.
bread.
Yes,
So
I
good.
can eat that and have, you know, they'll have a salad, nice salad. They'll have some legumes, collard greens, just different veggie options. If you like spicy, they got the spicy potato and things like that. I
Yeah.
love it. I love eating that way. I went to an international market and I was amazed at all of the different produce. It's just so much like never ending
Mm.
types of produce that you can get.
Yeah, I hear a lot of people say that now that they're vegan, their diet is so much more varied than it used to be,
Yes,
and they have so many
exactly.
more options. Yeah, I want to know, tell us a couple of things on the menu at the Land of Kush.
Oh my God. Well, what really put us on the map was the barbecue ribs, the Kush barbecue ribs, which is
Whoa,
made of
barbecued ribs.
yeah, soy protein, and it's a sweet barbecue. So there's two different type of
Mm,
barbecue sauces, smoky and sweet. We
I
have the
like the
sweet
sweet. Yeah.
barbecue sauce, and it's a soy protein, a firm protein. Greg made this sauce. It's a homemade sauce, so smothered in that people cannot believe that it isn't meat like that.
Wow.
If we run out of that, people get so upset with us. We cannot be out of the ribs. It's like that's the first thing we take to the festivals. We're doing a festival or we're doing a dinner. The ribs have to come, and then we have the
Wow.
curry chicken, which is a little softer texture, tofu. So curry is a spice that is used in a lot of indigenous dishes, the Indian, you got Indian, you got Asian curry, Jamaican curry. So curry chicken, and mac and cheese. We make our own
Oh
cheese and
yeah,
we
gotta
bake
have the
our
mac
mac
and
and
cheese.
cheese. We bake it.
Oh,
So it's not like some people like the creamy where you have it in the pot, but we bake our mac and cheese.
yeah, no, it's so good if you bake it. It kind of
Hmm.
sometimes has that little bit of a crunchy, crusted kind of. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, really good.
yes.
Yeah.
And we have award-winning crab cakes thanks to PETA. PETA voted our crab cakes top 10 seafood dishes in 2018.
Wow.
Those crab cakes would also be in a list of top 10 seafood options in Baltimore. We were the only vegan restaurant listed.
Wow. I love that.
Yeah, by Baltimore Sun.
Amazing.
Yeah. So what else is on there? The collard greens. People love the collard greens.
Mhm.
And then live kale. Can't forget our raw foodists. There are people that eat raw. They don't want anything cooked. Live kale with the avocado sauce. Garlic is in there, lemon. Oh
Nice.
my God, it's a favorite. I love it with the crab cakes.
Wow. You're making me hungry. It's fantastic. Well, I did want to ask you too about your YouTube channel, Naijha Speaks. Why did you start that channel? What was your goal, in creating that? Tell us a little about that talk show that you have on YouTube.
Sure. Well, do you know Jane Velez Mitchell?
Of
She's an
course, Jane
award-winning
Unchained. She's
journalist.
been on this
Yeah.
podcast. Oh, yes.
Jane Unchained.
Uh-huh.
So Paige, one of her producer at that
Uh-huh.
time, came
Yeah.
down to the Land of Kush when we were hosting Maryland Vegan Restaurant Week. So that's one of the other projects that I work on. Paige was coming down to get some coverage from the restaurant. And she found out about all these events we were doing. And she said, you know what? You should consider doing some contributor work for Jane. And I said, you know what? I have a lot of stuff going on. I'm very busy. I don't know if I could take on something else, but of course I did. So I was doing
Yep.
live coverage for, Jane Unchained at that time and going to festivals, capturing this, going to, Plant Burgers opening up here. So doing that type of stuff
Uh-huh.
for a while. And then the pandemic came. So, there's no more outdoor stuff. So this was in 2020, early 2020. So Jane gets all her contributors, about 60 plus of us, all her contributors together, and she says, you know what? Y'all are gonna have to probably do your own shows, So, and I wasn't thinking about doing my own show, but I thought about it, and I was like, that'd be interesting. So I came up with Naijha Speaks, and
Yeah.
Naijha Speaks is on a mission to help people find their vegan soul through food, events, people, and culture. So now I find myself interviewing people. Oh, I met so many people since April of 2020. That's when I launched it. Kamala Harris was coming into office. So we did this big plant-based Kamala conference online. It was
Oh,
just
nice.
you got to check that out. It was just amazing. So the energy was like way high, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to run with this. So I'm just interviewing all of these people and going out to events when you were able to.
Hmm.
And Naijha Speaks has done so many, and I think I got over 200 interviews on Naijha Speaks. You
Wow.
go to
That's
naijaspeaks.com.
amazing since 2020. Incredible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And so I'm just keeping on keeping on. I mean, it's to stay. And I learned a lot about going live. I go live. I don't, it's a live show, and I'm loving it, and I'm growing it, and meeting a lot of different people, and the coverage is there. And again, find your vegan soul. I think people have a vegan soul. There's compassion in everyone, and I'm just working to get it out. And
Great.
subscribe, please subscribe, like, share, comment, tell me what you would like to see. The outreach is for those that are thinking about vegan, they're not vegan, that type of thing, and also to discover vegans, that don't know other vegans. So like I said, people, food, events, and culture.
It's great. Well, Naja, this has been really a wonderful conversation. I am so amazed and impressed at all that you are doing. It's incredible. We are coming to the end, though, and I want to ask you our last question. What gives you hope for the future?
My daughter gives me hope for the future because she
Aw.
was born vegan. So she's
Nice.
experiencing something that I never got a chance to experience until later in my life. So I'm looking forward to seeing where this lifestyle takes her because this is all she knows. This land of Kush. We live above the restaurant. She's been exposed to, this vegan restaurant living and this
Mm.
lifestyle. So that's the
How old is
hope.
she?
She's 11 years old now,
Wow.
and I just wanna see, how this generation taps into the generation because we have a lot of work to do. I love what Genesis Butler is doing with the youth, and the number of things that she's working on, so that's where my hope is. The hope is the children are our future.
Yeah. 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 How beautiful that there's a generation being born vegan now.
Yeah,
It's really cool that they will never, ever have animal products in their bodies and they learn from such a young age. It's really, really, I love that. It's important I think it's important for vegan. If people are going to have children, I want it to be the vegans. So we can
yeah,
raise another generation of vegans. It's wonderful.
absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you so much for all that you do. I hope to someday make it to the land of Kush in Baltimore. And thank you for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Hope. It was wonderful speaking to you, sending blessings your way.
Thank you for listening to the Hope for the Animals podcast, sponsored by Compassionate Living. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. For those listeners out there who are into vegan spirituality, maybe the Eastern and Dharma traditions, there's going to be a retreat called the Soul of Ahimsa Vegan Spirituality Retreat in New York. It's going to be in June 2nd through 4th. And you can meet some of the longtime celebrated and renowned vegans like Dr. T. Colin Campbell and Victoria Moran. Holly Scotus will also be there. She's the host of the podcast Yoga is Vegan. And also Swami Chidananda will be there. It does cost money, some hundreds of dollars, but of course, that's to stay at the retreat center and get vegan meals. I'll put a link in the show notes to that event. It's called The Soul of Ahimsa Vegan Spirituality Retreat. I will not be there. I won't be going, but it sounds wonderful. Maybe you can go. Even though we are getting close to spring, I have snow out my window. It's also new to me being here in Eugene, Oregon. It is a winter wonderland here getting into March, which is so unusual for me. What a magical, amazing thing that this earth does. I've never lived in snow in my life ever. I've always lived in southern states. So this is truly, truly amazing. So I will be back soon with a really interesting episode. In the next episode, we're going to dig into the animal advocacy movement, and we're going to talk about a specific strategy, a specific social movement strategy, and how that is being applied in the animal advocacy space. And is actually getting some criticism. So I think you might find this interesting. So until then, live vegan.